It was coming, and now it's finally happened. Gonzo, Mr. Slaven Bilic has finally officially departed.
Yeah, the long goodbye, really, wasn't it? Well, we wish him well. Everybody wishes him well. It's been a while, actually, since I've seen a manager depart a club following a sacking and a bad run of results, and be wished well by everybody. And I think it speaks volumes about what a nice guy Slaven was, all managerial ability, particularly the last little while aside. I think he was held in high esteem by the fans. I think he could have retained even more dignity if he'd have almost been not allowed to go earlier, but if it had been shown the door at the start of the season, maybe. But I'm sure he'd be welcome back, you know.
Are you surprised when we did our cup of tea last week? You were saying you was. I said I thought this would be it. I thought if he lost, and you said no, even if we get beat, you still thought you'd still be here. So are you surprised that it's happened?
I guess not. Obviously, contradicting what I said, I said it because I felt we were stumbling from one ultimatum to another ultimatum, and that's how it would seem to have gone with the board, basically. And I was expecting us to lose to Liverpool. As you know, we both predicted a 3-1 loss, didn't we? And I just expected another ultimatum after that, really. I just didn't. The board didn't seem to have the appetite for it, and I just wonder how much actually the realisation of us going into the relegation places has made them think, hold on, we actually do need to do something here. But I think they would have liked. I don't think this would have happened if we'd have been in 15th, 16th, and everyone was sort of just unhappy with the way things are going. I think the relegation prospect has forced the decision on them.
Yeah, I feel really sorry for him, actually. I still do. I've always liked him, and I've always hoped he would do well, and I was always sort of... You know something, I was saying to someone yesterday, I've never wanted a West Ham manager. Zola as well. This is the first time I've really, really hoped a West Ham manager would succeed. The previous ones have always got a bit, meh. If they make it good, if not, I'm not going to be that fussed about it. But Zola and now Bilic, I've been really, really willing them to actually succeed. I thought they're perfect off the field. Their characteristics are perfect. Unfortunately, they just didn't have the ability. But when you've got that much characteristics about you can get off with it for a little while. And I think it just went on a little bit too long, caught up with him in the end. But even when he left, I mean, it'd be quite easy for him to have said something today and took a shot back at the owners or something, but he still maintained his dignity and class and saying, I didn't notice when he said he'd like to thank people. He never actually praised them to an extent. He just thanked them, but he praised fans. And I thought that there was a difference between the two statements for the fans and for the rest of them as well. I'm not surprised it's happened. It's just... I don't know. It's just really unfortunate. But I want to do one question. Bilic, he was here. He's officially our highest points on average per game Premier League manager at West Ham. So he's officially, statistically, our best manager in Premier League. But if you had to pick one moment under Slaven Bilic, pick one moment, what would it be?
Well, I just think as a sort of poster card seminal moment, then the last game at the Bowling, really summed it all up. I don't think you're going to get better than that. I think he was the right man at the right time, in the right place, as it were. And I was a big critic of Allardyce. And in particular, what I didn't like about Allardyce, aside from any football reasons, was the fact that he did not like the fans. Not just a cupping of the year, but he disregarded our history and our heritage. I remember, I've said this a few times, anyone who's watching our videos for a while will know what I'm about to say now, but we've got some new viewers, hopefully. So when he was asked about Bobby Moore, so we were coming up to an anniversary of Bobby Moore's death, and he basically said in the West Ham press conference he always remembered Bobby Moore more as a Fulham player. And he knew what he was doing. And that was Allardyce. He didn't care. He was quite happy to stick the knife in and give it a twist where he could. And I just imagine having somebody like Allardyce for that final game at the Bowling. And I've got a ton of footage. We were given wonderful access by the club for that last season. I've got a ton of footage from that last day at the Bowling that I've not even released yet. And I've just been waiting for the right time. And there's some lovely scenes. Got some lovely scenes of him walking around the pitch with the players, and you can just see how he connects with the fans, how he appreciates the fans. well, I can't remember what the bloody original question was, but I do think he was the right guy at the right time, and he certainly will be remembered fondly. That was it, the magic moment. That's it for me. That was a really good, nice moment.
Yeah, I've got to pick that one as well. I think I think he'd be hard pushed to find something else better than that. That game had it all, and at the end of the day, whether you call it the Payet season or not, I still argue that at the end of the day, before Payet came, he was never that good, and since he's left, he's never been that good. So while Payet was at the top of his game, Bilic was his manager, and you've got to attribute the fact that Bilic's got the best out of him, and no other manager's been able to do that. So you've got to give that thing to Slav a little bit, but I think it's a case of good luck, goodbye, and thank you very much, Mr. Slaven Bilic, because there's done now. Nothing anyone else can do. I do think there was one bit Bilic said I thought was interesting, where he said he was desperate this season to bridge the gap between expectation and reality. And I think that was Bilic's way of saying the board want this, but we're not good enough for that. And he was doing his best to get the reality as close to that as possible. And I found that quite an interesting little thing he said. There's more to this. Will Bilic ever come out and say it? I don't know. I think we might be waiting a long time if we ever do hear it. I don't think he's the type of bloke that's going to say it. But even when he left today and the chairman put out his joint statement on the official website, and in it, I just thought, why are you saying this? Because he said, we backed Bilic with all the players you wanted in the summer. I'm like, why do you have to do that? He's gone now. The bloke's gone. Just leave him be. Why are you still trying to make sure he's right under that bus? Just leave him. It's quite obvious that you didn't back him in the summer and give him all the players you wanted, because you yourself, Mr. Sullivan, showed us all an email that you bid for William Cavallo, so you quite clearly knew you wanted him. So I just thought, it was sort of like the end of the story, the end of Bilic. But it felt like the owners just had to go again. I'm like, no, there's no need for that. Please have a little bit of fucking class yourself for one day only. I do find it quite funny, like you said at the very start, about how Bilic just had all this love, appreciation, etc. It's almost like the bloke's died. Someone said to me earlier, they feel quite sad. I said it does feel a bit like he's almost died a little bit. All the messages and stuff, and I thought, well, maybe if he had that support all season, it might have been a different story, but who knows? The next manager, though. Remember we did a cup of tea? I remember saying to you, they don't know what manager they want, but they want the cheap one. Feels a little bit like that.
I made a joke, and do you remember me saying we'd probably end up with Alex McLeish or Steve Bruce? I don't.
This guy was the one under that, really.
If I'd have thought of it, I might have lumped him in. I just want to say before we go into detail about what they've done, and about the appointment and I do feel quite uncomfortable. We're about to appoint a manager. I do feel quite uncomfortable writing his obituary before he's even started. Okay, and I'm going to say my piece on this, as I'm sure you will. I know I'm going to leave it. I'm just going to support him and get behind him and wish him all the best, because he is going to be the West Ham manager. So I don't want to, bang on. He's going to deserve a chance. But I just thought I would say that before maybe we criticise the appointment and how it's been done.
Yeah, I mean, someone said earlier, someone tweeted me saying he's gone from the chosen one at Man U to the cheap one at West Ham. And I thought, quite accurate, I guess. I quite like that little thing. But I mean, what do you make of this? There's been a lot of anger. A lot of people saying they're not going to go back to stadium. I don't know if that's a knee jerk, or if they genuinely mean that they're not going to go back while Moyes is there, or if this is just the final straw for a lot of people. It's been coming. A lot of people have been feeling really, really detached with West Ham and the board, etc. And a lot of people are saying that's it for me. This is just them proving that all they care about is the money, etc. And that's them done. But I'm not surprised, Gonzo, and because I'm not surprised, I don't feel any anger. I almost feel like I should be angry, but at the same time, I'm like, well, what did anyone expect? We did this when we spoke about what manager we would get, and we spoke about all the top managers, and we thought it's going to cost money, and they ain't going to pay the money. So we sort of went Ancelotti, no chance. Mancini costs money, out. Benitez, 5 million release clause, out. We sort of come all the way down, and then we joked about the cheap one in Alex McLeish and that, but
yeah, I
think we knew that was the realistic option, unfortunately. Are you surprised, or are you disappointed? How are you feeling about David Moyes? I know you said there's a chance, that's fine, but
okay. Yeah, I just wanted to say that because I do believe once we've done this program, we go with him and we get behind him. But I am going to criticise a few things. So I mentioned a few, and they were sort of jokey suggestions. Steve Bruce and Alex McLeish. I think the very fact I didn't mention Moyes meant he'd fallen so far off the radar, I'd actually forgotten about him. And as a viable candidate, I almost thought that Sunderland was probably his last job. Before I talk about him directly, I do find it strange that the board didn't want, they sowed this statement, said, I'll be honest, I switched off. That's as much, was what you said, was as much as I've heard of it, because it's just all, I don't even know how much of it was written by them anyway, but they're platitudes, basically. Normally you'll get a load of platitudes when something like this happens, but the fact that there's platitudes, it sounds like there's mitigation as well. So it's, we'd like to thank Slaven and all the normal platitudes in his backroom staff, but there's mitigation. Actually, we did this, we did this, we did this, we did this. So don't blame us. That's what it sounds like. What I do find strange is, so they've obviously said that they've backed him, but not fully, as we know from the Carvalho one. Now, my understanding is that they were keeping some of that money back because they knew he was a dead man walking, and they didn't want to give money to somebody that they weren't fully convinced about. To a certain extent, I understand that. If they knew they were going to get rid of him, why give him another 40 million? Now, we know that we were running at about 13 million net in terms of our transfer dealings. We know what the television deal is, so we know there's about 30-40 million pound there still to spend. The maths are quite clear. With that in mind, why would you then do this and appoint someone for 6 months and then give him that money? That doesn't make any sense. It's exactly the same thing as somebody in a short-term situation. That's quite muddled thinking, and I just think we've gone straight to another short-term solution. We just seem to constantly be firefighting rather than putting something into place that's going to be sustainable.
I don't think they'll give him the money, though. I think this is part of the reason why they've got Moyes is because of Tony Henry, and I think it's a case of, well, Tony Henry's getting the funds for January, and you're going to work what he gives you. And I think they're thinking, well, who can work under Tony Henry? And David Moyes is the one thing that sticks out, because they had success at Everton with the two of them.
Yep.
They had, off the top of my head, I think they took in Leighton Baines, they had Phil Jagielka, they had Seamus Coleman.
The spec boy at City, Stones, they found him as well.
Them two found some really good players at Everton. So I'm wondering if that's, to be honest, I'm quite convinced that's one of the big reasons. And the other big reason is he's cheap, he's free, he's out of work, so they don't have to pay any money to go get him. But I mean, are you confident? Are you optimistic with David Moyes? I mean, his last job was at Sunderland. Before he even took over Sunderland, he said, well, we're in a relegation battle. This is going to be a challenge. Then in January, when the window opened, he said, it doesn't matter who we bring in. They're not going to make any difference. We can't get a good enough player to stay up. He admitted defeat before he'd even started the job. And that's got to be alarm bells. I mean, is that him being realistic and David Moyes being realistic? Or is that just someone that sort of jumped on a ship that was sinking and thought, you know what, it's sinking. I'm just going to sit at the front and go down with it?
Well, I just think at any point, this is by all intents and purposes a position that's become vacant, as it would be in any company or anything. And I think when you're looking to fill a vacant position, and you're looking to recruit an employee who, unless you are getting somebody green behind the ears and straight out of college, which we're not, you're looking for an employee who has perhaps some form of track record of doing the job for which you are advertising. Now, our remit and the job on offer at West Ham at the moment is a manager who can come in, deal with a struggling team, and get them away from the relegation zone. So what I would expect any employer, and in this instance our board, to do would be to look at the situation and then look for a candidate or an employee with some evidence that they had recently done that. So that's what I want to see. In many respects, not that I want him, but the example is Pulis has done it on several occasions, gone in, rescued clubs without taking them down. The most recent example we've got of David Moyes is quite the opposite, is him doing exactly what they don't want to happen. And that's why I think it's muddled thinking. Now, am I hopeful? You have to hope, as a West Ham fan, that was a blip. You have to hope we get the Everton Moyes and not the Sociedad or Man U, or actually we take the Man U form because we'd probably be about sixth, but you know what I'm saying. He had inherited the champions at that time, just after Alex Ferguson left. But we hope we get the Everton Moyes rather than the Sunderland Moyes. That's what we hope within our heart. Am I hopeful? Yeah, well, I certainly hope so. Does evidence suggest that? No. The most recent evidence we have of David Moyes is that he's taken a club down, and dare I say a club down, a club that we only recently commented that Jamie Carragher had compared that relegated Sunderland team to the state West Ham are currently in.
See, taking Sunderland down doesn't concern me, because I think that squad was awful. I thought it was, you know, when Moyes took over, they would have taken a very, very good manager to keep that Sunderland squad up. And I think a lot of good there's probably a reason the likes of, well, Allardyce got out at the right time, but also I don't think Pulis would have went there, because I think he's quite clever and he looks at it and thinks, there's no way I'm keeping that up. I ain't touching that. But it's the other stuff that concern me. You know, the Sunderland players and coaches or whatever called him the energy vampire because he drained all the energy, enthusiasm out of the club. You know, we're at a low ebb here. We're wanting someone to come in and do the opposite of that. But going by what Sunderland people are saying, we've just got a guy who's only going to continue what's happening. Then at Man U, this is the other big concern. Who's our main player right now? Hernandez, probably. He's our star player. When he left, he couldn't wait to stick the boot into David Moyes. He blamed David Moyes for leaving Man United, saying David Moyes didn't get him, David Moyes didn't want him, he didn't want to play for David Moyes. And not only that, Vidic and Rio, David Moyes told Vidic and Rio Ferdinand to watch a video on Phil Jagielka on how to defend. I mean, this is the stuff that concerns me about David Moyes. It's not just the results on paper, it's the other things that makes me think, well, hang on a minute. Like, he's, you know, like, we're going to end up with Fellaini in January anyway. That's the first signing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've all got our separate things. I would hope. I would love it. It's ridiculous suggestion, of course. I'd love to think that David Moyes was watching this, and if he was, I would just implore him to go in there and use whatever man management skills he's learned over the years and actually go and make peace with Hernandez first of all, and just say that, you know, we have a squad at a low ebb who are going to need a lift. They don't need a dour demeanour.
That's what I think. Good, that's what.
Well, I know. I think they're. I think a lot of them need to shape up, and if not, then we are getting to the time where they might well have to ship out. What I do think, though, is it's a hell of a risk. I almost think this is the last throw of the dice for the owners, and all this sack the board stuff. And I forget that you can't sack the board; they own the club, you know. And as any more as you can't sack me from my bathroom fitting company. That's what I fit the bathrooms. You can't sack me from doing it, right?
I think though, just to pick up on that, I don't think it's necessarily sack the board. I think it's just a phrase. I mean, what else are they going to say? Whatever it is or whatever it is.
My point is that they ain't going anywhere. But I do think it's the last roll of the dice for them. I think if they get this wrong, it could turn so bad they may not be able to go back into that stadium on match days. That's how bad I do think it could be. I think it's a very, very last go at it. I think after the Avram Grant as well, and now with the stadium moving, everyone is at a low ebb. This doesn't. It's not enough to save us from relegation. We have to now start achieving the things that we were meant to start achieving. And would David Moyes be the manager that you would pick if you had a free reign, a free choice to do that, to move us up to the next level? Which I think that somebody suggested, the statement suggested that. No, he wouldn't be on anyone's top 5, 10, 15 or 20. Do you know what I mean? He just would not have been there. And bearing in mind it's such a risk, they must know it's a risk. They must know. They've got their ear to the ground. They've got the boys there. The boys are on social media and that. They must know that actually if we get this wrong, it is just all going to turn against them. Either they don't care or they're supremely confident. Actually, this is the right guy to take us forward. But I do question the judgment and appointing their managers. Now, don't get me wrong. I really do hope that I'm proved wrong. I have to be proved wrong. We all have to be proved wrong, and it has to succeed, because it was, whilst I don't mind. I said before I didn't mind relegations. I've done it plenty of times. That's why Slaven's record is so good in the Premier League, because he won a few managers that didn't take us down, of course, because we've traditionally been a yo-yo club. But it wasn't too bad at the Bowling. I think relegation, where we currently reside in the in Stratford, it would be a very, very different kettle of fish indeed. I think it'd be about absolute holiday for Championship teams actually, coming to that stadium. Be like would be like a holiday park. Beautiful, what a lovely place to get changed, and the coach pulls in all that lovely food and all that. So they've got to get this right. Hell of a risk. They've rolled the dice. Let's see.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think it's a massive risk. I think they've almost tried to play it safe. He's British. He's worked with Tony Henry. Chris Woods is still there. Sullivan tried to get him back in whatever year it was. Sullivan's tried to get him before. I think those things make it safe. But when you, like you say, you look at what he's done at Sunderland and Real Sociedad, and the stories you hear, how he's gone with Hernandez example, that's not safe. That's risk. And you know, nobody's confident. Nobody's going, you know what? He's not who I want, but he's going to keep us up. We'll put up with it until the summer. Nobody said that. Nobody is confident that David Moyes will keep us up. And another strange thing, and this is away from West Ham, with Scotland, I've always thought this was weird. The Scotland job's vacant right now. Even the Scottish FA haven't moved to go get David Moyes. A Scottish manager, unemployed. You just think of the FA. I mean, the Scotland job's not prestigious. You know, managers have left us to go manage clubs. Like Walter Smith left us to go manage Rangers, and that's fine. I get that. So it's not prestigious, but yeah, even they didn't shift like that to go get David Moyes, and that's got to be alarm bells ringing. Because for me, the West Ham job's higher than the Scotland job, but it's a big risk, and like you said, if it goes wrong, it's
surely not thick, okay? And I'm talking about Moyes now. Surely he must have analysed what went wrong at his recent jobs, and you change that, don't you? You look at it and you try and swap what you're doing. If I heard earlier that Stuart Pearce might be coming in, and immediately my initial reaction was, oh crikey, what are they doing? Bad cop, bad cop. But then actually thinking about it, I've heard Pearce on the telly and on the radio quite a lot over the years. Actually, I just think Pearce was a pretty crap first manager. You hear him on the, he's a real laugh. If you hear him on the radio, he's a gag a minute. He's a good laugh. I think he's one of the lads. Actually, I could see that would be good cop and bad cop in many respects. And there's probably nothing wrong with his coaching. He was under 21s as the top manager, maybe not. So I think if he does bring somebody in, then he really needs to look at that, because if he's not got that within his character, then he needs to appoint somebody that will do all that sort of stuff for him. And your number two becomes all important to give the squad the qualities that you don't have. But I think he's got a lot of arses to kick. I also think he's got a lot of shoulders to put his arm around as well. I think there's a lot of work to do. This was a job, I thought, two things: fitness and man management. Those would have been my first two things. In many respects, it pains me to say it, would have been Allardyce. Actually would have done both things. We all hated him. The players loved Allardyce, and he did get them fit. See, Allardyce, you say this is playing it safe, and I know you don't think it is. You just think that they think that they're playing it safe. Allardyce would have been playing it safe. Hiddink would have been playing it safe. Anyone with records, as I say, Pulis, even Pardew could come in and before he went mental, would have kept us up for a little while. This is the risk, and if they think they're playing it safe, you're not. They're not holding a good hand, you know.
I've tried to convince myself, actually, because I thought about it, and as I said earlier, I think the Sunderland was doomed. I think he was just a desperate man on his knees, taking any job he could get, and he took the Sunderland job. I think the one before that was Real Sociedad. I think he's took that. He's tried to do Steve McLaren. Steve McLaren buggered up with England, so he went over to Holland, did well, and then he got his job back in England. I think he's tried to do that, but it's not worked out for him. But you know something, I'm not going to criticise him for that, because I've got a lot of time, a lot of respect for people that go out their zone. Yeah. He's gone out his zone, he's tried it, it didn't work, that's fine. And this, I'll come on to Stuart Pearce in a second for this, but I've got a lot of, so right now, the man knew he was never going to succeed. That job was a monster. Fergie knew the squad's time was up. He won the title. Fergie thought, this is me, I'm done, I'm out of there. Whoever got that wasn't going to work. And then he had his, what's his face, left as well. The guy that did all the transfers left at the same time as Fergie. That job
he did, and Rennie Mullenstein, who was a top coach there, who was doing all the coaching under Fergie. Yeah,
he took over. He took what was an impossible job, and his successors, Van Gaal and Mourinho, haven't won the title yet, but they've spent hundreds of millions between them. They've still not got there. Moyes didn't have that. Moyes got Fellaini. I think he got Mata as well, but he didn't get loads of money for what is a Man U squad. Then the job before that is the Everton one. I think he did well there. It was just a bit, the football was always the best, but he had consistently had them in the 8th, 7th in the league. I think he qualified for Europe 4 years on the bounce. One of them was finishing 4th with Thomas, and he sold Thomas Gauss to Real Madrid. So he's obviously done something right. So, but the problem is it's the risk though. Who are you getting? I mean, this managers have a lifetime. Was Moyes' lifetime up when he left Everton? It's very possible, and we're sort of giving him the benefit of the doubt. Like you said, there was just safer choice out there. Ronald Koeman is unemployed now. While he's got a reputation for being a hard taskmaster, like you said, that's what they need for the next 6 months. And I've got a feeling that's why we've got Moyes. I don't think some of these coaches, managers, would have took a 6-month deal. They would have probably seen that as an insult, thinking, what, you think I'm only good enough to come keep the seat warm for someone else? You don't think I'm good enough long term, right? I don't want it then. But on the other side, I think this is where the owners ballsing up with Bilic has come to bite them back in the arse. They've gone to people, and people have gone, I've just seen how you treat Slav, mate. You're all right. I don't fancy that. Look at you. You're in a relegation zone. Your players don't give a shit. Your fans are walking out with half an hour to go. They don't like you. The way you've treated Bilic is a joke. I'm not taking that job. No, thank you. I don't want it, because it's hard, isn't it? Like we said about how's Bilic going to go get a new job now? He might not, but you can say that about other Premier League managers. Alan Irvin's coming with Bilic. He did crap at West Brom, and he had to drop down in the lower leagues to come back up. He had caretaker at Norwich since then. That's it. He's not had a permanent job since. It's difficult. But what I will say is Stuart Pearce, Alan Irvin, if they come in, Stuart Pearce, I've seen a lot of criticism for him saying he's a bad manager, maybe, but it doesn't make him a bad coach. And at the end of the day, when he retired, he went and got his badges. He went out there and he worked the hard way. And it's all very well people saying, oh, we should get Rio Ferdinand. What's he done? He sat in a BT studio giving it that. I'd much rather have Stuart Pearce and Rio Ferdinand any day of the week, because Stuart Pearce has done it on the training ground, putting the Collins out in the pissing rain when he doesn't really want it. He's got stick. Rio Ferdinand sat in the studio with his expensive suit on judging it. Well, stop judging it and go try it for yourself. So I'm glad Stuart Pearce is coming and not Rio Ferdinand, in all honesty. But let's start wrapping this one up, Gonzo. I mean, anything else you want to add?
I just said earlier on that I thought it was the board's last throw of the dice. I just wonder, this is definitely Moyes'. If he mucks this up, I don't think he's getting another job in football, regardless of any other job. So I think it's his last throw of the dice. And I just wonder if that in itself is you've got to be a little bit, you've got to look inside yourself a little bit. You've got to look at yourself and think, where have I failed? How have I failed? And what have I done wrong? And I just wonder if he will look at that. He must have learned something from going to Spain. He must have done. He's one of, as you say, one of the few to go overseas and try something else. He must have learned something from Manchester United. And I just wonder if he looks and thinks, you know what, I did this, and this wrong. This is my last throw of the dice. I have to make this work. I'm going to take some of my best bits from Everton, and I'm going to remember the bits that didn't work at that other place, at Sociedad, and I'm going to bring that into here. And the other thing I would say is, and I know you'll say what you said about Bilic, why would anyone with 6 months left throw any youngsters into the team? I would just implore him just to have a word with Tony Henry and actually have a little look at that team there, and just see if there's anyone in that team they might be able to draft in and inject a little bit of vibrancy and a little bit of freshness. Freshness he can deal with in January. If he might be able to bring, even if he's not got a big budget, he might be able to get some loans in and do something. He might even find Morales coming in from Everton, quite frankly, because he's worked with him before. But until that point, some of those players, let's be clear on this, some of those players are a lot responsible for Bilic going, and some of them are not pulled their weight. And I would try and identify. I would not be adverse if I was Moyes to giving Slav a call, awkward as it might be, and just saying to him, sorry if everything has happened. Who the bad eggs? And knowing the class of Bilic, he may well turn around and go, this guy, make things difficult for me. And actually taking those guys, taking them out, not a whole set of team, but then just a little sprinkle of some young bloods just to inject a little bit of enthusiasm into the squad and freshen things up a bit.
The difference is, though, with the youth players there is Moyes has got something to play for. I think Moyes is coming in a 2.5-year deal, but there's a break clause in the contract which the board can insert to get rid of him in the summer for free if he doesn't achieve what he's got to achieve. But Moyes has got that extra 2 years to play for. So if he comes in and he thinks, oh, this player and that player looks good, he's got reasons to take them in because he's playing for a new deal. And that might work, actually, because like you said, it is last chance for the owners, last chance for Moyes. You put them together, they've all got... It's desperate for them all now, so they've all got to make it work. And I know what you're saying about Moyes. I think Moyes actually should do the opposite. That is a clean slate for all the players and say, right, that's it, clean slate, you all pull in, you all get together now, we all start working. But when one of you do step out of line, that's it, bang, you're out of here. And I think that's where Bilic fell down a little bit. Falling out of players happens, but this is why I think Fergie lasted a long time and didn't go stale, and that is because when he fell out with someone, he got rid of them. Beckham, Keane, Van Nistelrooy, Stam, didn't matter. Fall out with Fergie, you're out the door. Bilic, Sacco's still here. He fell out with Sacco 2 years ago. You know, as soon as they fell out, he should be out that door. As soon as you come to heads with someone, you need to get him out so he can't speak to someone, he can't speak to someone. And the problem is, I think he fell out 1 or 2, and they stayed at the club, and then all of a sudden 2 became 4, and half the changing rooms against you all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Removing Bilic will actually give some of those players a lift. Sacco is probably buzzing off his tits tonight. Okay, he's chomping. He's probably chomping at the bit to play for David Moyes. Okay, we could probably see a completely different Sacco against Watford. But yeah, he doesn't have a back injury for the.
His back's got better, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I feel a bit. Hey Davey, I feel a bit good. I had some haggis. I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go. Get me on that. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a different Sacco for the rest of the season now. And that doesn't apply to just Sacco. I think there's some players now who will actually think, you know what, he's gone. Thank God I didn't get on with him. He didn't play me as much as he should have. I didn't get played in my right position, blah, blah, blah. This new guy's coming in. I'm going to put on that shirt. I'm going to impress him. I'm going to get out there and play. Maybe not Andy Carroll after what he said about the fans. He might find himself in a little bit of bother for the next couple of games. But that's for another show. Me and Gonzo will be back later on this week. There's no game this week, obviously, so we've got plenty of time. But we'll be doing a cup of tea before we do the preview for the Watford game. We'll be keeping you up to date with all the West Ham news as it comes in. So when stuff does happen, I'm hoping to have a live stream tomorrow night with 2 people from the channel that will be speaking about David Moyes. So I won't be speaking about them. I'll be asking them questions. They'll be giving their opinions. But we want your opinion at home as well. So drop in the comments below what you think about Bilic going, what your favourite memory of Bilic was, and what you think about David Moyes coming in on a 2.5-year deal with a sort of a break clause for that half year. What that is exactly, I'm not 100% sure. If he gets a certain position, does it automatically trigger? That could be a bit worrying. What happens if he's, bear in mind, despite how bad Bilic was last year, he finished 11th. So you'd imagine 11th is good enough to keep you on a little bit. So if you're new around here, make sure you subscribe to this channel. We're not too far away from 6,500 subscribers, so thank you very much. Drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed this one as well. But Gonzo, is there any final words you'd like to say?
Yeah, yes, there is. Please, I'm going to do a mega your shout, but and I want lots of videos from lots of you. But please leave it a couple of days because news is moving fast. And Gary, I've received a big video from Gary. Gary, I'll put it up if you want me to, mate. But bearing in mind what just happened, you might want to redo it and send me a fresh bunch of news moving so fast. But yeah, I'll probably do it on Thursday or Friday. So send in your clips, info@hammerschat.com, and we'll get all your opinions on camera.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for joining us, Geo Gonzo. And, well, it's time for the era of David Moyes.